Strasbourg, July 14th, 1518. A summer so brutal the roads baked and the river ran low. On a narrow cobblestone street, a woman stepped out of her half-timbered home and began to dance. No music, no celebration, no reason anyone could see. She just danced. Her neighbors watched. Her husband begged her to stop. She couldn't, or wouldn't. No one knew which. She danced all day until she collapsed from exhaustion. Then she got up the next morning on feet swollen and bleeding through her shoes and danced again. By the end of the first week, 30 people were dancing with her. Not because they wanted to. Their eyes were wild, expressionless. Their movements were not graceful. They were spasmodic, violent, desperate. Some wept as they danced. Some screamed at passers-by to help them stop. Nobody could. By the end of the month, the number had grown to 400. 400 people dancing day and night in the streets of Strasbourg. Some collapsed, some woke and danced again, and some never woke at all. To understand what happened in Strasbourg in 1518, you have to understand what Strasbourg had already lived through. 3 consecutive years of crop failure, famine so severe that peasants ate bark from trees, outbreaks of smallpox, leprosy, syphilis, and a mysterious fever called the English sweat that could kill a healthy man in hours. The river had flooded. The harvests had rotted. Peasant uprisings had shaken the social order. The people of Strasbourg were not just hungry, they were traumatized, desperate, utterly without hope. And then, on top of all of it, people started dancing. The people of Strasbourg had a name for what was happening: Saint Vitus. A Christian martyr from the 3rd century, Vitus was the patron saint of dancers, and in medieval belief, a saint with a terrifying power. If you sinned against him, he could curse you, force you to dance, compel your body to move against your will until your heart gave out. This was not superstition on the fringes of society. This was mainstream medieval theology. And in a city already crushed by famine and disease, it was not hard for the terrified citizens of Strasbourg to believe that God had turned against them, that this dancing was not illness, it was punishment. The city council of Strasbourg consulted physicians. The physicians said this was a fever, hot blood coursing through the body. Their prescription: let the blood run its course, encourage the dancing, provide space, provide music. So the city of Strasbourg, trying to help, opened its guild halls. It cleared the grain market. It hired professional musicians, drummers, and pipers to play for the dancers around the clock. It paid professional dancers to dance alongside them. The council minutes record the payment: 2 florins for musicians, a line item for a catastrophe. And the dancing got worse, far worse.
If historical medical mysteries fascinate you, you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. We drop a new story every single week. Now back to 400 people danced until they died.
At the height of the plague, 15 people were dying every single day. Heart attacks, strokes, organs shutting down from sheer, relentless physical exhaustion. The dying didn't stop dancing. That was the horror of it. They danced as their hearts gave out. They were found collapsed on the street, and when they regained consciousness, they danced again. The feet of the afflicted bled constantly. Their legs swelled to twice their size. Their faces lost expression. The city of Strasbourg, one of the most sophisticated cities in Europe, watched 400 of its own citizens dance themselves to death and could do nothing. The city finally reversed course. Public dancing was banned. Music in the streets was forbidden. Prostitutes and gamblers, seen as moral contaminants, were expelled from the city. The council tried to clear the streets by force. And then, in a final act of desperation, the afflicted were loaded onto wagons and transported to the shrine of Saint Vitus at Saverne, a mountain village outside Strasbourg. There, a priest blessed them. They were given red shoes, the color sacred to Vitus, as part of an absolution ritual. Whether it was the journey, the ritual, the isolation from the crowd, or something else entirely, the dancing began to slow. By September of 1518, it had stopped. 500 years later, the best explanation science has is this: mass psychogenic illness. When a community is under catastrophic, sustained stress, famine, plague, fear of divine punishment, the mind can generate real physical symptoms, and those symptoms can spread, not through bacteria or virus, through sight, through suggestion, through shared belief. A historian named John Waller spent years reconstructing the Strasbourg outbreak. His conclusion was that the people who danced were not faking, were not poisoned, were not possessed. They were broken. Their minds, pushed past every limit by 3 years of starvation and disease and religious terror, had finally and catastrophically failed them. The dancing was real. The suffering was real. The cause was the world they were living in. And Strasbourg was not alone, and 1518 was not the last time. In 1962, in a small school in Tanganyika, modern-day Tanzania, a laughter epidemic broke out among schoolgirls. It lasted months. Classes were suspended, hundreds were affected. In 2011, in a small town in upstate New York, teenage girls began developing uncontrollable tics and convulsions. Doctors called it mass psychogenic illness. The symptoms were real. The cause was invisible. It has happened in schools in Malaysia, in factories in Belgium, in convents in medieval France where nuns climbed trees and meowed like cats for days. The human mind, under sufficient pressure, does not simply break quietly. Sometimes it breaks out loud, and sometimes it makes you dance. The dancing plague of 1518 ended in September of that year. The dancers recovered. The city returned to its misery. The famine continued. The plague continued. Nothing was solved. But what the dancing plague left behind is something science is still trying to fully understand: the terrifying power of the human mind over the human body. The power of shared belief, the power of collective fear. We look back at the people of Strasbourg and we see superstition, ignorance, the primitive terror of a pre-modern world. But the truth is simpler and more uncomfortable than that. They were people like us, living at the edge of what human beings can endure, and when they reached that edge, they danced.